This chemical conductor turned game guru with a degree of chemical engineering and a master's in biotechnology. His real alchemy, though, was turning those skills into gaming gold with over 10,000 hours logged in first person shooter games. Now rocking the role of business development at Ava Labs, he's ensuring a snow capped success on every mountain their games have to climb. It's the biotech baller, the chemical commander, the molecular marksman from Avalanche. It's Parker.
Gonna add a new one for next week, and this is for Koji's context. Lettered in choir in high school. So yeah, let's get that one. Little blast from the past, but great to be here, guys.
In choir.
I couldn't make it in football, so I was like, you know what? All my friends are gonna have Lettermans. I'm gonna go for choir.
You gotta sing a song now, bro. You gotta sing a song now, Parker. Go.
Gamescom Germany. We'll get a karaoke sesh.
Yeah, he's no linebacker, but you should see his pipes. Holy damn. I love you, man. Up next, he's gone from nerd to next level, shifting from back-end developer to business developer. But the goal remains the same, crafting user-friendly tech that's changing the game. He's a begrudging ex-Bored Ape Yacht Club holder who always runs it down mid in Dota 2, and he's narrowly escaping the purge list month after month in the Wolves DAO. But that won't stop him from changing the game with Starbase. More on that in a second. Welcome to the panel. It's the Mustache Maestro, the secret of Stardust. Behind the StarNet account, it's Andy Adams.
I want to get piped by Parker. I mean, hear his pipes, dude. What the heck? I also lettered in choir in high school, so that's a fun throwback. What up, everyone? I am very stoked to be here. It's a fun day. It's a crazy day here at Stardust, Starbase, StarNet, all coming at you live. So thanks for having me, Sam. A lot more to come.
Great to have you as always, brother, and big congrats on getting everything out the door. I know how good it feels after being forced to keep it all under wraps for so long. To be able to release a bunch of stuff always feels good. So enjoy it despite the chaos, and thanks for making time for us. And up next, from pulling off 360s on the slopes to 360 no scopes, he's in the nuke town of Web3, bouncing from Brussels to Brazil. He's been snatching dubs from the jaws of defeat. Welcome to the panel. You know it's the sharpshooter of shrapnel, the undisputed king of controllers. The redemption arc continues with Dub.
Web3 is going to be huge, baby. Third choir boy in the group, counting in. Dude, freaking love to see my choir nerds here with me, man. You love to freaking see it. I will be in Glasgow on August 1st through the 5th. So if anyone in the England region, let's freaking connect.
Dude, this is one of the weirdest developments in the history of Gamified, finding out all of you are choir nerds. This is surreal. And speaking of choir nerds, hailing from the sheer snowy cliffs of, hailing from the sheer cliffs of snowy Silicon Valley, aka Toronto, where he's more likely to be found hanging by a fingertip than hanging out at parties. He's the entrepreneur who's started more businesses than he's had hot dinners, and who rolls his eyes at accolades like they're pebbles under his climbing shoes. It's a man who turns nostalgic when he rewinds his Skate VHS collection, and yet spins forward the future of gaming with the world's #1 NFT trading card game. Hold on to your harnesses and prepare for a seismic shift in excitement, because here comes the Sultan of Scaling, the Prince of Parallel, and apparently the choir boy, Koji.
What's going on? I was never a choir boy. I kind of wish that I had some formal singing training, though. I think I could have actually been pretty good at it. But yeah, I mean, thanks for having me yet again. You are right, Sam. I am actually just in the midst of planning a trip to Singapore as we speak. And that's for before token. So it may be that I am away more than I am home these days, and bring on the cigarettes, I guess.
Bring on the cigarettes. Up next, this formidable figure has left the firehouse to fan the flames of fortune, setting the financial world ablaze with his fiery flair. This fearless force of fiscal fortitude is the guy who can turn a budget into a bonfire and make cash flow like lava. Representing the marketing marvel Uptick, it's the mastermind with the Midas touch. It's the fantastic, the formidable, the man who's going to have to extinguish Koji's cigarettes. It's Jerry Fresco Singer.
Yeah, I was never in choir. I'm sorry, but my last name is Singer, so I'm happy to be amongst my brothers here. Fucking nerds.
Fucking nerds indeed. Up next, this legendary leader sculpted the skyline of success, transforming Macau into the shimmering shore of the East. His bold bets and brilliant buffs outshone the competition, with savage fears of casinos, commerce, and competition with Poker Stars and Alibaba and Team Liquid, respectively. Now he's setting his sights on the scintillating new saga, My Angry Yakuza Girlfriend, blending the strange with the sensationally stylish. So strap in with the Titan of Taboo, the founder who can't be bought. It's St. John David Jung.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here today. I'm like very hyped about this raid boss thing. You know, I'm gonna we're gonna have a lot of fun today. And yeah, I was in concert choir. Yes, I was. I was also on the rugby team at the same time, and I got yelled at by my teammates on both ends. So, anyways, I'm so happy to be here.
Sinjin with that trademark 5 a.m. delirium and always down for a good combat with Raid Boss, man. I love you. It's great to have you. Up next, jumping into the spotlight, he's the founding father of Geno Pets, the Web3 wizardry where fitness meets fun, and every stride brings your digital pets to life by rewarding every step. Rumor has it he hasn't left his treadmill since Geno Pets launched in 2021. He's nurtured more digital critters than a Tamagotchi daycare and logged more miles than a Peloton. With a knack for turning jogs into joyful quests, he's here to jazz up our panel. Welcome to the panel. It's the juggernaut of Geno Pets, the Joe Rogan of jogging. From Geno Pets, of course, it's Jay.
What's up? Dude, I got no choir experience outside of KTV and Norbon, but I think that counts if you're in the real books. And I am on the treadmill, but I'm walking slowly, so maybe the audio will be manageable.
He's so on brand, man. It is the audio is better than usual, so keep a slow pace,
Thank
and
you, thank you,
maybe
thank
we
you.
can stick with it. Appreciate you, buddy. And up next, using AI to architect an avatar's paradise, he's shaping surreal spaces and fantastic realms that ricochet between reality and reverie. Currently picking up pioneers for an early alpha, he's handpicking heroes to embark on this exhilarating expedition. They have a new playtest coming up soon. Brace yourselves as we introduce a juggernaut who went from joyous jungles of Nintendo to juggling journeys into the jubilant world of today, the game. Welcome to the panel. It's Mr. Michael O'Connor.
Hey. Good to be back, everyone. Fascinating, the choir. Um, just the consistency of choir boys are here. Very cool. I was a musician in a previous life as well, like Koji. I was a drummer. And yeah, I used to love actually going to the choir when I was in college.
I can
Good
see that. You
vibes.
got big drummer energy, Michael.
He
Oh,
does,
thanks,
man.
buddy.
That's facts. Apparently, if you're in music, you're in Web3 gaming as well. Who'd have guessed that we that we would all be connected this way? And I say we because obviously I have musical talent that nobody's ever seen before as well. Definitely was in a band for sure. And I was lettered whenever I was being homeschooled and in choir, which was also incredible for me. So big shout out for that. Whether he's scuttling through the latest hot topics or basking in the spotlight of our stage, this reptilian regular is always a step ahead. Weighing in at 2.4 pounds, he's the littlest legend who leaves a Godzilla-sized impression. It's my co-host with the co-most. It's Lems.
GM, everyone. So it sounds like we need to do some kind of like survey or Venn diagram for people who are in Web3 and also in Choir, because it seems like there's a lot of crossover. What a weird combo. Also, Dub, if you said Glasgow earlier, don't call it England when you go there, or you may not come back. They did Scotland,
Bring
and you
it.
can call it the UK, but do not call it England, or you won't come home.
I got
Lambs,
new home, boys.
he's a dumb
Better not,
American. Come on, Lambs. Don't be mean.
better not call it anything at all and be safe.
Hey,
Can we have real quick? Can we have AI put all the intros in one big like harmony that like everyone who did choir can sing the whole like it's like pages of music to get through all the intros, but we're all singing it together in harmony, and maybe we can have the sheet music for that. That'd be great. Thanks.
I'll be the baritone, baby. Let's do it.
as a person who could not hit a note to save his life, I'm gonna have to defer that task to literally anybody else on stage, apparently. So if anybody wants to take that on, by all means, thanks for the great idea, Andy. And of course, get ready for a ride down the coolest, most colossal slope in the blockchain universe with Avalanche, the official blockchain of gamified. With speed that leaves lightning in the dust and security so tight even a Yeti couldn't break through. It's pretty compelling, but here's the frosty cherry on top. Avalanche is onboarding the biggest names known by the masses, knowing that they will follow. Konami, Solo Leveling, Off the Grid, and MapleStory all building their own subnets, and RoboKaiden launching on Elixir this July. Actually, I'm in there now. I was able to get access to that playtest, and if anybody else wants access, shoot me a DM. I don't know if I can actually get it, but maybe I can finesse Park into getting a few more codes if anybody wants to jump in. And elsewhere on Avalanche, prepare for a thunderdome of tactical turmoil, where every bullet blazes a trail of triumph. Shrapnel isn't just rewriting the rulebook, it's blowing it to bits with explosive excitement and fiery ferocity. This extraction shooter is a blast of brilliance, demolishing the competition with its unmatched intensity. Plus, it's your portal to a payload of prizes with monthly STXs back on the menu. The next one coming up July 25th. Pair your gameplay with the Shrap token or an operator to unlock next level opportunity. Huge thank you to Shrapnel for being the official game of Gamified, which is powered by none other than Stardust, which has StarNet, the next generation ad network powering the $100 billion spent per year on user acquisition. Instead of being owned by Google and Facebook, StarNet is owned by games and apps, creating a decentralized and equitable ad tech ecosystem. Starbase is the first application in the StarNet ecosystem, and it is the premier missions platform designed by gamers. Play games, complete missions, and earn gems. Starbase is the premier missions platform showcasing the best playable games in Web3. Big thank you to StarNet, Stardust, Starbase, and the stars I'm seeing after reading all of that for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. Love you guys. We're jumping in first with Bullish or Bearish. Bullish or bullshit. Castaways has decided to launch a brand new game that is, quote, entirely Web 2 and not even partially Web 3. They claim that, quote, this distinction in our portfolio will allow Castaways to flourish as a Web 3 game without the demands and constraints of a Web 2 game. If you're a Castaways holder, should you be excited that the studio is diversifying or upset that the attention and resources may be pulled away from Castaways, which you probably own assets in if you're in this ecosystem? I don't know who got the hand up first. I'm going to send it to Mr. Koji.
I say bullish. I think that if you're going to support games and game studios, then you have to let them do what they think is best. And it's not just about, hey, let's bring utility to the NFT or whatever. It's about let's make the best games possible. And sometimes that includes using crypto, and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you can't be like, hey, this is fucking nonsense, because then they're just going to shoehorn it into a product that doesn't need it, and it's going to be a shit game, probably. So ultimately, I think that if the strategy actually pays off, the fact that, maybe they can turn a Web 2 hit into eyes into a Web 3 game, like that would be amazing.
Well said. Let's send it over to Dub next.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Koji said. Like, just freaking send it. Like, at least they're doing something, and even if it's against the grain, against the norm, like, freaking try something, and maybe it sticks. The other feeling I have is like, Web 2 doesn't have to remain Web 2 forever. We're seeing a lot of games getting bought out, becoming Web 3 later down the road. So they can always do like a swoop-de-doop, we gotcha, and now you're getting rewarded in a Web 3 way down the road. So, it's all marketing the way they pitch it, but at least they're alive and kicking.
Is it just me, or is like literally every game studio on planet Earth doing multiple intellectual properties, multiple games at any given time? It seems like no one just has a singular focus, save for maybe Today the Game. I don't know. Maybe they've got a few on the back burner. They're one of the only studios I can think of. Meiji as well. I know you guys have a casino thing going on. Anyway, I digress. Lems, over to you.
I'm pretty indifferent on this. I feel like not bullish or bearish. Like, as Koji and like Dove said, studios want to work on other projects and expand the IP in some way. I think it's pretty normal. And that's honestly, like you said, Sam, to be expected because people are working on other things. The one thing I thought was a little weird about this was how the CEO kind of posted about it. Like it was some big exciting thing. But if it's not impactful to the Castaways holders in any real way, and there's no Web3 integration, it just seemed like a bit of a weird post to be like, oh, this is super exciting, this is happening, but it basically doesn't benefit you guys in any way whatsoever and has no real impact. I think it would just be better just wait until the game was, done and then post about it and be like, hey, we did this other thing and, it'll expand the IP. But it was a bit of a weird post from my perspective.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit out of pocket. Also, Dayton Mills, I think was his name. I'm not super familiar with Castaways, if being completely honest. But he seemed like he's kind of gone off his rocker, lost the plot just a little bit. So this one just was announced in kind of a weird way as well. Let's send it over to Jay from Geno Pets. Then we're gonna hit up Michael O'Connor.
I don't blame holders for probably the initial take being like what why, but I do think I was gonna repeat Dub's phrase there, swoop de doop, we got you. That's definitely I think what most studios are doing anyway, right? Like you're putting something out, you're building Web3 into it as you go. Maybe Web3 takes longer to build, is harder to build, is more difficult to launch. I don't know what their intentions are long term with the game, but bringing eyeballs to a core game or an ecosystem that is more Web3 is the same thing a PFP collection would do in a bunch of Web2 ways to bring eyeballs to their collection. So in that sense, I wouldn't knock it, but I would say it was kind of presented weird.
Yeah, there's a great comment from Graslow that just came in. He says, building in Web3 is hard. One way to make it harder is to also build in Web2. Michael O'Connor, over to you.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge anyone for trying a strategy inside of like what we build inside of a very dynamic, tricky market. First mover advantage is often rewarded. Taking risks is a you know overarchingly a pretty decent strategy when you're when you're at that phase of development. So maybe this is the right one. Obviously, I think they're building browser and mobile stuff, and obviously there's particularly for mobile, there's some limitations around distribution. Obviously, App Store and Google Play and stuff like that. So, looking at different opportunities to grow interest in the kind of IP, the global IP that they're trying to build, can make sense. Under that, obviously, we saw I think Axie Infinity even released a kind of a non-blockchain game, so they could access the vast repository of users on using iPhones. So from that perspective, it makes sense. The only thing I will say is it doesn't exactly scream conviction in the space at a point when you could consider a lot of what's happening at the moment as a kind of a Web3 games bear in some ways. It doesn't scream conviction in a space that people kind of decide that this is the point that they would kind of jump out to do something else. So I kind of prefer when the chips are down and when it's difficult to, dig your heels in and fucking go harder.
Yeah, it's a really good point, man. There's so much opportunity to build long-lasting relationships whenever you double down in the bear market, because the people that see you do that will love you forever. There's a long list of people in 2022, whenever everything was boring and terrible, that I became very close with because we bonded during that time. I have to give a shout out to the sheer amount of people referencing the fact that they're in choir in the comments. It's insane. Van Ho, we got Cal Bear saying all choir, no band geeks. What the fuck? And then Adom says I was also shamelessly in choir. And then Spang is memeing on us, talking about how we need to make songs. And then Moglin says, love these spaces from intro to end. Appreciate you, brother. Kodak also says, good to be here. It's good to have you. Let's send it over to Sinjin, then we'll tag in Jerry.
I think it's kind of bearish in the sense that, like, if they raised from the community and he's using it for a Web 2 game, even if it's using the same IP, that's kind of a little fucker move, I think. I think he should like focus on the Web 3 and whatever the commitments he's made there. But if he hasn't raised and his studio's using other monies for they're expanding, then I think, if he's looking for just an expansion of the IP and using it as a funnel, I think it's a smart move. I wouldn't say it's bearish or bullish.
Fair enough there, Sinjin. Let's tag in Jerry.
Yeah, I think overall I'm indifferent. If anything, leaning slightly bullish. Like I look back at me playing video games, right? And I playing like the first like Jack and Daxter games. And from that, always loving like things that Naughty Dog does because I've always just enjoyed their games, right? So I think if from like what Sinjin was saying, if it's just like an expansion of the funnel and people can get more interested in the studio and what the studio builds because they build a Web2 title that maybe gets some users, then I think that's a good thing. I think it's not going to happen in the reverse, right? It's not going to be I don't think Castaways is going to be the game that is a Web3 breakout hit that makes people want to go play their Web2 titles, But I think it's fine. The studios do this all the time, right? We wouldn't care if Naughty Dog made a mobile game, right? So I see this as sort of the same version of that. So yeah, indifferent, slightly bullish.
All right, let's go to Koji again, then we'll send it over to Knock.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is like I'm kind of surprised at the takes of like, oh, this is like a non NFT game. This guy probably shouldn't be talking about it in this way, or people shouldn't be excited about it, or whatever. Like, let's just imagine in parallel, if let's take gaming out of it. What if I was like, hey, we're like launching a Netflix show. By the way, that Netflix show doesn't give a shit about your NFTs, but like it's gonna be sick for the IP. Everyone would be like, this is amazing. Like, good for you. Now everyone's gonna want to play this fucking game. Fucking sick. But because it's like, hey, I'm holding this thing, and this other project that you're building that is, whatever, in the same sphere isn't benefiting my NFT. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, then we're exposing ourselves as a space, and like, the truth is nobody gives a shit about the games really. What they give a shit about is like number go up in my bags, and I think it's kind of just a little bit nonsense.
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder if we had more context on this, if indeed it would be the exact same intellectual property and the justification would sort of be driving value to that IP and then be able to grow the Web3 product from there. I'm not exactly sure where this product in particular falls, but I do like that definition of kind of where, if it's I guess genuine or if it's responsible for them to do that in relation to the current project that they have. Knock, over to you.
Yeah, man, I empathize with the developers and builders in this space. When things like game studio announces they're building a game is a controversial topic, it just like adds 3 or 4 or 5 layers of difficulty to like the teams that are trying to build shit in this space. When you have to like justify why, as a game studio, you're announcing you're launching a game, that is fucking insanity to me. I think it's also important to remember that for a lot of these teams, when they receive funding, they're receiving funding from a team and studio level. So their obligations ultimately is to their shareholders and their stakeholders. And if something like Castaways isn't doing well in Web3 or is having issues monetizing today or doesn't see a path to monetization and they're trying to expand and build out the studio so that hopefully one of those games makes some money and they continue to develop into this product, I'm fine with that. I think that that's totally fine. Even the best teams in this space who do have really strong token sinks and have ways to, on paper, reflect revenue, actually still have cash flow issues because you're just ingesting your own token and marketing it as revenue that is coming into the company. But ultimately, you can't dump those tokens on the market. That revenue doesn't actually mean anything. It looks good on the books, but financially speaking, a lot of teams are still in a position where even if you do have a ton of players, even if you have sinks in game and you're ingesting and taking in a ton of the tokens from your own economy, you're not actually making any money. And when you're faced with a scenario with, hey, we need to make money to keep the lights on to continue to developing this thing, and if Castaway is that Web3 product, it's the passion project, it's the thing that they need to keep moving, I have no problem with the team expanding their horizons and continuing to build games, regardless of whether or not that game is Web3 focused. Ultimately, this is a team who needs to generate revenue, is building a game studio, has to make games because games is a hit driven business, and you know pretty quickly in the gaming space whether or not you have a hit on your hands. So for me, I like the idea of a team maybe shipping something for one reason or another, realizing that it's not going to work and pivoting to something else, or a team taking multiple bets at the same time with the funding and then leaning into the bet that pays off. That to me just sounds like responsible business practices, not a team abandoning the Web3 ecosystem for Web2. So I think that this is a non-issue. I think really smart and savvy teams will spread their bets. They will make sure that they have 2 or 3 or 4 shots on goal. And whenever one thing is working, they'll lean in heavily to that thing that is working so that they can prop up the entire ecosystem that they're building within their studio.
Fair enough. Let's tag in Sinjin, then we'll give Lems the last word before we move on.
Yeah, I think the context matters here because we don't really know. But like in the case with Koji's example, if you're a game studio and you're going to launch another title, like, are you going to divert, development resources, existing development resources to this new game, or are you going to hire a new team? I think that really does matter. And I think that's where the kind of conflict arises because, if it's Netflix or whatever like that, you're outsourcing it, you're licensing the IP, maybe you're setting up a whole different team. In terms of what Knox said, I think number one, just because the model hasn't been solved yet, in terms of an open, sustainable token economy or whatever for Web3. And, it's not a justification, man. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're here, right? And in terms of shots on net and stuff like that, I think it depends on, what type of game development experience and what area you've been doing the development in. If you want to take shots on net, you want to kind of iterate and stuff like that, then do prototyping. I mean, you have to have conviction here to kind of make a stand. I mean, we're that early. And we talk about the industry as if it's already set. There are formulas or whatever, even though we say that they're not, but we act like there are. I think a little bit more focus, and if we all keep saying that Web3, our community matters, I mean, there is merit in being focused here.
And Lens for the last word.
Yeah, I'm with a lot of points Sinjin had there, and just to respond to Koji, I don't have an issue with anyone yet building something else or working on something else. It was just more of a know your audience. Like Twitter is a Web3 audience, right? Like that's what we know. It's where Web3 people hang out. And I pinned the tweet in case anyone didn't see it too. It's just a bit weird to be like, we're launching a brand new game that's entirely Web2, not Web3, not even partially, like fully, and post it as some exciting thing. It just seemed a bit weird of you should know your audience, and are your holders really going to be happy when you're framing it like that? I don't think there's an issue, expanding and trying to build other things, but just cater to your audience and know who follows you on Twitter.
Oh, he's obviously setting up the rug in the worst cynical context.
Let's hope that that's not the case. I am shooketh by some of the comments that are coming through on this space. First off, we have Dub saying, shout out to the choir kids. Dub, is that really you in that picture?
Yeah, bro. Full choir. That's like peak choir dub right there. That was after a rambunctious solo at the end of the year graduation.
Oh my lord, he is sequenced up. This picture looks like it's straight out of Full House. I'm shaking in my boots. Lens, we got to pin it up. Also, in reference to the Wolves Den earlier being compared to Brussels because we were in a bad neighborhood in San Francisco, I said nothing was stolen at the Wolves Den, though. It was very safe. And Icy said my heart was stolen at the Wolves Den, and so that's not exactly true. Shout out to Icy. Appreciate that, man. We're gonna move on to the next topic. We have 3 quick fire what's the words. Okay, we're going to keep our responses to each of these kind of short so that we can get through them. All of them are pretty light topics. I don't see a big reason for debate on any of them, but I am curious to see what everybody's sort of hot take is on each of these things. First up, we're talking Telegram. Telegram CEO Pavel Durov said that the game Hamster Combat had amassed 239 million players and counting. A report from a Russian news outlet claimed that, quote, percussion massage gun sales had surged due to players using them to supercharge their in-game tapping. And one brand was actually using Hamster Combat imagery on its product listings on their website to entice buyers. So first up, what's the word for people using electric massagers to tap their phone on Hamster Combat and other Ton games? And if you want to add a little bit of spice of what's the word for them saying they have 240 million fucking players in the same quote, that just blows my mind. Let's go to Sinjin first.
I love it. I'm on the verge of buying a massage gun myself. I have a special technique for this hamster combat where I use my full hand, and I got like a really textured hand. So I think I get like 8 taps on it when I use my full hand. You guys should try it. I was trying 2 hands with whatever, touch points, because it's not just one touch point. You can like put multiple touch points on it. You get the whole family doing it with like little mini massage guns. 200 million, like, yo, if you're not looking at like Ton for a funnel, like what the fuck are you guys doing? You should fire your BD guys or whatever.
I don't know if there was a word in there, but that was still a gem of a response. Koji, what's the word for this one?
Yeah, the word's lame. I mean, there's a lot more fun things you could do with those massage guns that don't involve hamster combat. I thought that's where Sinjin was going, and he was going to take it from me. But uh, so maybe do that instead of playing hamster combat, and the world might be a better place. I think everyone might smile a little bit more. But outside of that, I mean, whatever. I advocated for Cookie Clicker earlier in some earlier spaces, and this is. Now I just got to reap the hell that I brought upon myself. So good for them, I guess.
Van Ho in the comments says, "What the hell did I just stumble into?" We're all trying to figure that one out, but I do want to hear from you guys in the comments. What's the word for 240 million players and a bunch of percussion massage guns being purchased? Jay, what's the word, brother?
Yeah, the amount of people that tied their phone to ceiling fans and bought phone rockers when we first launched Genopets, I'm not actually surprised. I'm pretty much okay with this mode of exploitation. That and clicker games are games too, guys. Like I don't know, maybe I just like clicker games, but I think there's a place for them in our space. We don't all have to be game developers.
What's the word, Jay?
The word is do it.
All right, Dub, what's the word?
Dude, Game Shark 2.0 for using the freaking Theraguns as the clicker. And then for the bot thing, or I guess the user thing, it's bots, but at least they're spending. I don't give a shit. I designed a freaking Telegram clicker game for Shrapnel, and we're building it, baby.
Please
And
ship it sooner. God.
Dub's game is coming. It's coming.
All right, Michael O'Connor, what's the word for this one?
The word that jumps to mind was that already used in reference to Dub describing his choir set in that picture, which was rambunctious. What a wonderful word that is, rambunctious. That's what I think of when I think of these clicker games going bonkers.
All right, knock over to you. What's the word, brother?
Yeah, the word is evolution. I mean, this is just the next step of gamers buying products that are seemingly unrelated to games to help their gaming efforts. First, you had the little clip on lights for your Game Boy before they had the backlight within it. Some fucking psychos bought Vaseline to like lube up their fingers while playing Guitar Hero 3 for Through the Fire and the Flames on Hyperspeed 5. That is an absolute insane thing that actually happened. And then way back when in RuneScape, people bought the little clip-on fans for your desk to and then attached your mouse to it so that when you were doing AFK activities, the mouse would slowly move across the desk to make sure that you weren't being logged out due to inactivity timers. So this is just a natural evolution of the way that gamers have always done things. I think this is fucking hilarious. Also, just really quickly, shout out to Elon for building the only piece of software that I've ever used that is 100% consistent in the fact that it does not fucking work. And I can't hear Jay. So I'm going to leave the stage really quick and try to come back up.
The only consistency is inconsistency, baby. Lems gets the last word on this. What's the word, brother?
My word is Homer. Someone was sitting down watching The Simpsons when Homer uses that bird to keep pushing the button so he doesn't have to go and do work. It's like, hey, I can make a ton of money by just doing this, and that's what they did.
All right, we move on. There's another Telegram one here. I actually think this one might get some legitimate responses. Pixelverse, the company behind the hit game Pixel Tap, raised another $2 million after launching their Telegram game, and they had already raised $5.5 million in funding for quote unquote a cyberpunk MMO, but none of their art looks cyberpunk to me. Maybe I just don't know what the definition of that really is. But the question is, what's the word for a studio using Telegram Tapper games to raise an additional $2 million the same year? I'm going to send it over to Lems. What's the word?
Okay, not really a word, but I'm going to say GG. Like, wait, good on them. They jumped on a trend. They shipped something fast. They took advantage of like what was happening with the Tawny ecosystem. They, build out their IP some more. Got another $2 million. They raised 5.5 mil before. So what's this? Like an extra 40% of their original raise they got by just jumping on this trend. Like GG.
Yeah, GG's. Dub at the hand up next. What's the word?
Yeah, dude, Fab on fleek, man. Like they're freaking owning it. They know what's hot. They freaking grabbed it and they're repping it, dude. Good on them.
Dub still living in his choir high school days with that one. Michael O'Connor, what's the word for this company raising an additional $2 million off a Telegram clicker?
Big fan of that team and how quick they move in the market. How quick they're able to understand uh, little movements that are happening in beneath subculture and the speed by which they're able to mobilize product out to be able to react to that. So yeah, congratulations to them. So yeah, smashing.
Knock, what's the word, brother?
Opportunistic, man. I think to Michael's point, all of the best teams in this space act quickly when they see something coming out. Oh my god, my dog with that fucking ball. Um, all of the best teams do this, and I won't out the team, but I will say there is a team in Web3 that has built a product that pretty much everybody listening to this has touched over the course of the last 3 months, and their entire ethos is product that people need right now. If it lives for 3 months, great. If it lives for 6 months, great. But we're going to continue to spin up a bunch more products and you're going to continue to use our shit. I think teams in Web3 that activate quickly have the opportunity to spin something like this. They deserve the benefit of being able to bring in more revenue, more users, whatever it might be. It's the ethos of Web3. Ship fast.
Interesting, man. I really want to dive down the rabbit hole of like, does that mean that you'll never actually have a good product because you're always ADD jumping to the next thing? But we'll save that for another day. Koji, what's the word?
The word is jealousy. I wish I had thought of it first. Please, anyone listening, I will make any fast to market game you want for $5 million, no problem. So hit me up. The DMs are open.
Jay gets the last word on this one.
The word is definitely speed. Speed to market is what wins in crypto. No, well, that and liquidity. But speed to market here, some of you guys know I've been pushing on a Telegram game, which has gone on about a month and a half now. It was supposed to ship in 3 to 4 weeks. Is what it is. The speed to market thing is definitely what crushed it for them, and they're reaping the rewards.
All right, the last, what's the word? I don't I don't know if this one's gaming, but it shook me whenever I saw this one. A vape to earn device was shown at ETHCC, which means you can finally get paid to smell like artificial grape juice. Again, I'm not sure if this is gaming, but I have to add it in there. A quick what's the word before we get back to Web3 gaming. Let's go to Dub.
Send me a freaking demo set, baby. I love it. I got a freaking ring to earn when I was at ECC, so I'm wearing to earn right now and talking to AI to earn. So freaking, I can't wait. It's the last piece of my Exodia puzzle of earning in my life is vape to earn. So come on, give it to me.
It's the last piece of the Exodia in my life. That's a great statement. Jerry, over to you.
Yeah, 2 words, Brinks truck, because back that motherfucker up with the amount of money that Koji and Sinjin and Dub are going to be spending on these things. I don't know what, for some reason, crypto has like 3 personality tropes. One of them is people that just vape incessantly and smoke, and half this panel smokes, I think. So this is going to be the biggest product I think we've ever seen.
Damn, Jerry's bullish. Get him some vape stat. Knock, what's the word?
I guess 2, man up. Fucking smoke cigarettes. Why are we making smoking so much more complicated than it needs to be? We're trying to get healthier, and in doing so, we just keep creating more and more fucked up products that are killing you faster anyway. Just smoke a cigarette like Koji.
We'll see if Koji's still smoking cigarettes whenever he could be earning with that sweet, sweet purple grape juice. Koji, what's the word?
The word is ingenious. This is like I don't know if any of you have seen the Justin Timberlake movie In Time, but basically you're just hours off of your life is now the currency, and that's basically what we're doing here. It's just like, how about you slowly kill yourself or kill yourself a little bit faster for some money? Fucking incredible. Also, it just made me think that like this generation of kids has no idea what a rebate is, because like in bygone times you used to buy something and then send in proof of purchase and you'd get some money back. Like this to earn business is kind of nonsense unless you're vaping for free, because otherwise it's just, hey, why don't you give us $100 and then we'll give you back 10 of it later? Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's basically just a oh fuck, what do they call that? Not a voucher, a rebate. It's a rebate. It's a rebate on your purchase. Jay, what's the word?
Yeah, the rebate is actually what all crypto games are, if you think about it. And you got to pair this guy with the poop to earn back in 21. I don't know, like the poop to earn, vape to earn is definitely going to be a combo earning opportunity. The word is definitely buy it.
What? How did I miss that one back in
Yo,
2021?
poop to
They were
earn in
so ahead of their
21. The
time.
Japanese team made a toilet that like tracked your poop, or like an add-on to your toilet. It tracked your. Oh, dude, it was a whole science thing. Like it was like trying to be a serious product.
Oh no! I just imagine a bunch of people flushing random shit down their toilet, being like, "Man, I gotta get this airdrop, man." Just putting Oreos in it. Michael O'Connor, what's the word, man?
The word that jumps to mind here is utility. What amazing utility we finally found for crypto. We've finally figured it out, everyone. We can all close all of these spaces and go to bed. We finally did it. Well done. Someone figured it out. Yeah, it's kind of funny thinking about Nintendo when they were releasing the Wii. It was all about like how can we just like get people moving and fix things and stuff like that. This is like the total degenerate opposite of that. So Yeah, a bit of buzz, but yeah, thank God we fixed everything.
Thank God we fixed it. Lems and then Sinjin will get the last word. I haven't laughed this hard in like a month.
My word is the fuck, and it's one to the product, but two to the panel. I did not expect these kind of responses across the panel. Like, I guess we're really back in 2021 deja vu, where we're just slapping to earn on everything. We're bringing back poop to earn. Sleep to earn was a thing back in 2021. Breathe to earn. Let's just slap them all together, and you can have the Exodia to earn, as Dub says.
Oh my God, the comments are still so good. Wills, who's a regular on the show from Stardust, is just taking the Starnet guy and making him vape and do all kinds of shit. Justin Lucas says, vape to earn Sinjin. Dub, let's form a guild. We can do this. Sinjin, what's the word?
The word is coke to earn. Thank you.
That's a great one to end on. We also have Alex, aka Adom, having Dub pull out his Yu-Gi-Oh card, which is his grape juice smoke box. I'm done. Zach also is requesting Gamble to earn. That one would be a great one as well. We're gonna move on to actually something that's not that different. Okay, NFTs as token vouchers. The game mode here is very simple. I'm asking you to fix it. We keep hearing NFTs are dead, despite what Dap Radar thinks. That's a reference to last week's show, in case you missed it. The main utility in gaming NFTs these days is just being a token voucher for a future airdrop. The Beacon and many others, but the Beacon being the most recent example, kind of very, very straightforward about the way that they were approaching that. Some people don't seem to have a problem with that. Other people hate it. I'm curious where the panel falls kind of on that scale. So I'm going to ask you guys to rate token voucher NFT utility. And to be very, very clear, this is an NFT that they state the majority of the utility is just you will get an airdrop and it will be, vested X, Y, or Z kind of way. Usually 5 to 20% of it unlocks at TGE and then another 80% over the next year or whatever. There's a lot of debate about that too. But I want you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being you love the idea of your NFTs being token vouchers. You think it's a great fit for the technology. You don't even care if it comes with anything else. You just want it to be a token voucher. And if you rate it a 1, that means you hate it. No one should ever do it on any NFT. And then, of course, in between those numbers is, somewhere in between. And then tell me a gaming NFT utility that you would actually be willing to pay for that isn't just speculative upside. If you can do that as well, you can just rate it if you don't have anything good. But if you have something that you would actually pay for, you as a human who likes video games, throw that in there too. I'm gonna send it over to Koji first.
I'm gonna give it a 3 or 4. Yeah, we'll say 4. I think that it's like a good way to capture some uh, sector of the crypto slash crypto gaming audience. Like some people really like that stuff, and I think it's fine. But I think it can't be the only utility for the NFT. Because then, like, why do we even have NFTs? It's just another speculative asset before you get the token, and you could speculate on that. Like, doesn't make any fucking sense. You know, having like a token voucher being part of it, saying like, hey, you bought into this thing, you're using this thing, whatever, and now you're getting tokens as a reward, not just because like you bought it and held it, but because like, you're part of the community, you're, in Parallel's case, let's just say you're playing the card game, you're doing whatever, fine. That makes a lot of sense. But outside of that, I think it's like if it's just that one thing, I think it's pretty fucking stupid. And as far as like a utility is concerned, I've talked about this on pretty much every space that I've been on here with you guys. But basically, like any gaming audience that has a built-in relationship to collecting the assets and not just playing the game, NFTs make a perfect sense, right? Like, I mean, we chose card game, that makes a lot of sense to me. But if you could figure out a way to capture like the Warhammer nerds or whatever, build like the perfect Warhammer tabletop simulator or whatever, and allow them to paint their minis and do all this shit with it like in a digital way. That's like $1 million idea right there, several $1 million. And I think that would be a good utility for NFTs. But like, it has to be something that people inherently want to trade, and not just because they want to speculate on it, but because there's either some inherent collection to it, or it actually has utility in the game.
I love that answer. That was a great one, Koji. I want to hear from Mr. Michael O'Connor next. Michael, rate token voucher NFT as a utility on a scale of 1 to 10, and then give me an alternative NFT utility that actually excites you in gaming.
Yeah, I largely agree with what Koji's saying there. I think it's maybe a little bit harsh on the scoring. However, I think that rewarding NFT holders with tokens is pretty good for, it's a pretty good idea. People who've been with the project for a long time, or, you know, um, who are, have invested essentially inside of the community, or have turned down the opportunity to sell that, asset, and are sticking by the project, essentially speculating on what might happen in the future. I think that being able to reward those folks is a good thing. I think that NFTs are great for cementing community. Like, we have a very small collection, but it's a really strong group of holders, like 777, and we've been able to like navigate the bloodbath kind of pretty well because of the strength of the holders, and that's been really useful for us for a number of different reasons. And yeah, I think, like, and I'm not going to talk about my own particular project here, but like, I think in general, being able to reward those folks who do stick by the project in the future, I think is very important, very valuable. Ultimately, in crypto, when you build your tokenomics, you essentially have to give away 50% to the community somehow. That's just this kind of standard rule that everyone came up with for some reason, and it's this kind of relatively hard rule. You change around those numbers too much, you can get kind of crucified, basically 50% for team and investors, 50% for kind of everyone else. And the kind of, I'm still not sure exactly why all those numbers are so hard. It's kind of funny to me, um, but you got to figure out ways of getting the tokens into the hands of the community. So it's preferable to try to get those tokens into the hands of people who actually really care about what you're building, and that aren't just going to dump the token the moment that they can. And if people have been holding an NFT for a significant amount of time, it would indicate that they're going to be better holders than, just random people who do some social farming and like connect their Twitter and then you just give them tokens. You're, the other kind of, you know, flippant kind of ways that people do these, like earn, airdrop facilities of, just there's so many bullshit airdrop facilities out there that just people are just, they're so incredibly botted as well. So, I think it's a pretty tidy way to reward people. But one thing I do agree about is with Koji strongly is that if it's just the utility of the token, I think it's dumb and meaningless. But if there's other things that it can do inside the game, that's great. Sorry, very long-winded answer there. And then the last part of the thing, like, what kind of cool utilities that can you get inside the game? That, I mean, the one thing that, sorry to bring up my own game here, but you're going to be using our NFTs. You're going to be able to make really fucking cool islands with really incredibly rich resources inside of the game. So there's like really pure, beautiful in-game utility inside of the game that will actually give you lots of other trade opportunities as well. So yeah, thanks.
Oh, you'll love to hear it. That one sounds great at the end and fairly balanced take, Michael. I appreciate seeing both sides of it. Let's tag in Jay from Geno Pets. Jay, rate the NFT token voucher utility on a scale of 1 to 10 and give me another one that actually excites you in Web3 gaming.
If I was a sensible person, I would go with a thorough answer like the two gentlemen before me. That is where we need to be in this space. But the reality is, I'm going to give this an 8 because that's what node sales, land sales, and everything else before it have been. So in reality, at least I get a pretty picture this time. I think to the note on dumping, like most of them that I've seen have been tied to holding the asset to continue to receive the airdrop. So at least it is not just a get airdrop dump scenario. You do still have to hold the asset if you're going to keep getting the token. There's like vesting schedules attached. But to be honest, like that's just still where we are to space. I'm not opposed to it all, and quite frankly, launched a new collection today. I'd be doing the same thing. Second would be second question. Second half of the question was utility. For me, I think the best utility is progression. I'm an impatient motherfucker, and I don't like to play games. Even if I really like the game, I want to get further ahead. So I pay for progression more than I pay for anything else.
Interesting. Okay, I like those responses as well. Let's go over to Dub. Dub, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, like I don't get really interested in the idea of like an IOU receipt or a voucher or whatever that I can't play with or something. For me, what I get excited over is something that does a combination of like letting me peacock inside the game, like a golden weapon skin or whatever, but also something that rewards me being a good gamer inside of this ecosystem, like with reward multipliers or whatever, or like a golden gun that gives you tournament access, this kind of stuff. It's the reason why I've spent thousands of dollars on the keys for Parallel, because it's like I play the game and now when I win, I get a chance at a champions ticket for an awesome like tournament access, or I get more prime or whatever, and all those things just like make a lot of sense for me and also allow me to peacock inside the game as well. So I think that's the right combo for me, just from the gamer's perspective.
Yeah, big shout out to Parallel, the different ways they've managed to monetize. I think it's really cool. Jerry, tagging you in, what do you think?
I'm a little surprised by the panel here. I think that if I had to rate NFTs as a token voucher, that's like a 7, right? It's like a really solid thing. I think it's good because it allows teams to make money, and they really offer up nothing. That they are giving people fake money after that, and that hopefully turns into more real money, right? But it's comes at no cost to any of what they're doing, other than just getting some marketing spend out there, to make sure that it sells out. So I think that's good for everybody involved, right? The investor hopefully will be happy because they'll have made more money. The team will be happy because they'll have made hopefully a couple $1 million like the beacon, and they'll be able to keep the lights on, and they'll be able to keep building the stuff that they want to do. So it's like a 7 for me. It's pretty, but it's not hot. Um, for the second part of what are things I like, I'm actually completely with Jay on progression and being willing to pay for that. Um, in the pandemic, I played on a PvP server on World of Warcraft, and I was on Horde, and I bought an Alliance Rogue just so I could gank all my friends when they had their full raid buffs, and it was the best. And I paid a lot of money for that privilege, and I would be very happy to do so in a much safer way on chain than I had to go to some sketchy Russian website to make sure that I could facilitate that purchase.
That's a great anecdote. Let's send it over to Lems, then I'll give Knock the last word. He's been spamming the 100 emojis, so I know where he's falling, but Lems, over to you.
Yeah, I'm with Jerry. I give it a solid 7 on the utility. I 100% agree with like Koji and Michael and what they had said. Like, it can't be the only utility, but I think as as one part of the utility of an asset, I think it's pretty good. If it's literally all the NFT does, then at that point it's just a glorified like pre-sale with like that you can trade until the token is live, which yeah, I don't think that's very exciting. He wants to have some kind of in-game utility, be able to use it in some way. Like, let's look at Pirate Nation, right? Like, they often get a lot of love recently because they've done so many things right. They were around 1 ETH before they had the token claim. They had the token claim. Now they're sitting at like 1.5 ETH. Why? Because they've given value to the NFTs. So like after the airdrop, they actually went up in value, where most things actually drop as soon as people can claim the tokens. They sell their tokens, they take their profits, floor price of NFT go down. So it's all about just having something to do with it. And then in terms of ongoing utility, there's a word which Paul, I feel like, encapsulated really well what people want in Web3, and it's opportunity. Opportunity in some way, whether it's a financial opportunity, whether it's an in-game opportunity to, get unique skins, get unique, in-game assets, whatever it might be. Give your holders opportunities, and that is what they want. We live in a financialized world. They want financialized gains, but also we have gamers who like to, play games and get something out of it. Like Dub was talking about peacocking. Hey, you can get some unique skins, some unique things in the game. That's a pretty solid utility. But yeah, if you can do something that gives them value after the token drops, that's pretty much necessary. Otherwise, the NFT is just going to go to zero.
Knock, tagging you in for the last word, brother.
Yeah, there's an episode of Mad Men, and it might actually be the first episode of the series. And long story short, they're talking about cigarettes being this really bad thing for your health. And Don Draper goes up to his board and he goes, "Yeah, but we're toasted. It clears the impurities of the cigarette." And the guys in the room go, "Yeah, but everybody's toasted." And Don Draper goes, "Yeah, but nobody says that. We're toasted. We're the first ones to say that this is a thing that we are." That's what's happening here. The Beacon said, We're an NFT token voucher. They said it first. They were the first team to say it. But let's be honest here: 90% of every single NFT that everybody on this panel is listening to, that they have purchased since 2021 all the way up till now, is in some way, shape, or form a token voucher. This was true of Bored Apes. They just shit out more NFTs within the ecosystem. This is true today of Pudgy. People are holding on because they think that something like a token might be coming. It's true of Azuki. It's true of literally every NFT that you've ever bought. Anybody who thinks that this utility is less than a 7 should just go through their wallet and purge every asset that they own, because most of those NFTs at one point or another were a token voucher. All that has happened here is that the beacon said the thing first. It took 3 years, which is fucking insane to me that it took that long for that to happen. But the beacon said it first. Everybody has been launching token vouchers in one way, shape, or form over the course of the last 4 years. And nobody has said anything. It's just been the unsaid thing that we all agree upon. The utility here is it might give me a token. The utility here is it might give me another NFT. The utility here is that it might give me some way, shape, or form that I can sell the shit that it gives me. And that's why I'll continue to hold on to this thing. The beacon just shift the framing. They were the first ones to say it out loud. It shook a lot of us when we talked about the beacon a few weeks ago. We were all like, I can't believe that they're actually saying these fucking things. And the reason why we couldn't believe it was not that it was a new or novel idea. It's just that we've all just been kind of launching this shit for the last 4 years without saying the thing, but they went out and they said it. And that changed people's opinions on this whole thing. Most assets in the NFT space are either a token like voucher in the sense of an ERC20 or an SPL20 token, a fungible token, or they're a token voucher in the fact that they were factory NFTs and they shit out other NFTs. But the reason why you held that thing was because it gave you some other thing that you could immediately sell and have some value there. So I think that this has not changed. The utility is like a strong 7, a weak 8. It's something that we'll continue to see forever. The beacon just had a moment where they shifted the framing of what this whole thing is. We're all accustomed to this thing. It just shook us because they said it out loud. As it pertains to like the utility that I would purchase, I don't really care. I'm a simple man. I like shiny things. I literally logged into Overwatch and spent $60 on a fucking Transformers set, a game that I don't play. So give me something that looks real good and that I like, and I'll probably buy it. So I don't need extravagant utility. I just need pretty pictures.
Knock. I love you, man. I'm gonna. So 3 hands went up. I'm gonna give you guys all a little bit of time. We do have to get to raid boss, so I'll ask you to keep it a little bit on the shorter side. But with that being said, real quick, I'm just gonna do something I basically never do and be the devil's advocate and take the complete opposite side. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10 because I'm fucking bored. Please, for the love of God, I'm here to play video games, not to play speculation, token, whatever the fuck. And like the reason the beacon said it first was because they were not based in America and they didn't have to deal with any securities laws, which congratulations, that's a great boon. I wish I wasn't based in America because it's a huge pain in the ass. But that doesn't make them like revolutionary. It just means they're playing by different rules than everybody else. And I'm bored. And I would love if we could just move past this at some point. I know it's not going to happen anytime soon. If I was advising people, which I do, I wouldn't say, yo, definitely don't give anybody coins for those NFTs because that's fucking terrible advice. But I'm bored. Please, can we just do better at some point eventually? Jerry, then to Michael.
Hold on, real quick. I just got to step in here. I want all you motherfuckers tonight, before you go to bed, to look in the mirror and realize to yourself, not a few years ago were you saying we like the art, you know? And just think about that for a second. Okay, now you can go to the
Oh,
hands.
Jerry, over to you.
thank you, Koji. I just want to know how much Big Tobacco paid Knock to start shilling cigarettes on us. We've made it through 76 episodes and he's not brought up cigarettes once, and he keeps telling us to start smoking. No wonder he can afford his $60 Overwatch skins.
Big tobacco in Knox's pocket for sure. Michael O'Connor.
Just a little bit of further color to what Knock was talking about. I think that we have had a lot of people who have been pretty explicit that these are token vouchers in the past, launching NFT connections in reference to their tokens. For good and for bad. We've seen kind of a lot of murky kind of stuff going on there. A lot of people disappointed over allocations and all that kind of stuff. And that's been a moving target that we saw a lot of, let's say, in January, February, or between let's say December and February. And one of the reasons why, by the way, it's I just want to put a little kind of fact here, that one of the reasons why founders don't go out and say that is because it's super murky, legally speaking. there's loads of legal and compliance issues with you going, okay, here is this asset which is now going to become this other financial asset, basically. So you've got to be really, really careful about how you approach launching your token and the words that you say. And some teams are, let's say, more conservative than others. You know, some teams are more liberal, or some teams are full on goddamn reckless. They don't give a shit. They're just like, here, we'll seek forgiveness in the future rather than actually work around what the legal recommendations are. So that is a kind of a quite important point. So one of the reasons, just like you don't see most video games are thinking about tokens, you know. Um, but one of the reasons you don't see everyone constantly talking about it is because there are legitimate legal compliance issues, especially with dealing with the United States. So I just think that's just an important bit of color. It's not necessarily first mover advantage to go out and start talking about your token a year in advance. It also creates a huge amount of potential difficulties for you down the road.
Yeah, fair play. I think that's a big part of it, for sure. I'm sorry, without getting without going on another tangent that I'm tempted to do. Since I'll send it over to you. Last word, then we move on to raid boss.
Yeah, I was actually going to make a joke that the head of the SEC enforcement had called me and wanted to hook up with Knock next time he's in New York so he can give a list of all the fucking NFTs that would. Guys, like, wake the fuck up. Like, honestly, exactly what Michael said. Like, Jesus Christ, a bunch of fucking degen, reckless, dumb fucks going out here and not realizing, like, if you're in here for a real fucking asymmetric gain here and actually not just on the speculative side, why would you fuck yourself this bad by going down this route, which is clearly a fucking securities, right? I mean, all this short-term shit is great for fundraising and all this other stuff. Fine, that's right. But if you really believe in your game, you really love the game, you really want it to grow, and you really believe there's something asymmetric there that, you know, that's going to change things, right? Why would you take this fucking risk and do this? You're just a fucking twat.
Damn, big words out of the Titan of Taboo. I love you, man. Big shout out also to everybody that's given us a retweet, that's dropped comments, etc. I don't have as much to give away without the speculation of a million NFT mints going on and stuff, but I really, really appreciate everybody that's hanging out in the comments. People are dropping memes, having conversations together, sharing alpha, and every single time that's one of my favorite parts of gamified is seeing people kind of congregate publicly on Twitter, but like form these friendships, these relationships, and so often it turns into so much more. I remember at Wolves Den, people meeting for the first time and they'd been hanging out in the comments together for like a year at that point, and it's just really cool. So big thank you to everybody that's doing that, and of course, let's allocate a moment to applaud the almighty Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. Avalanche isn't just flexing its muscles with speed and security, it's bench pressing all of Web3 gaming by bringing T1 Esports and the legend himself, Faker, into Web3. They're actively altering attitudes and advancing the industry. But wait, there's another ace up their sleeve with Fableborn's new Play to Airdrop campaign set to astonish, and it did, baby. The numbers were absolutely electric. People loved the game, etc. We actually have a Wolves DAO report coming up of Wolves DAO people rating it, so look out for that. Should be end of this week, maybe early next week it comes out. So whether you're aiming for adventure or architecting new strategies, Avalanche is the agile engine accelerating Web3 gaming. And it's time to dive headfirst into the chaotic carnival known as Shrapnel. Imagine an extraction shooter so intense it makes a shot of Jägermeister look like a glass of water. Shrapnel's your golden ticket to the ultimate gaming glory. Enlist today, earn medal, team up with Moku, and let your strategies light up the screen like a Vegas marquee. Huge thank you to Shrapnel, the official game of Gamified. And of course, forget about the big wigs like Google and Facebook. StarNet puts the power back in the hands of the games and the apps, crafting a decentralized and equitable ad tech utopia, introducing Starbase, the shimmering gem of the StarNet galaxy. It's the ultimate missions platform for gamers where you can play games, complete missions, and earn gems. Starbase isn't just showcasing the best playable games in Web3, it embodies the grand vision of StarNet. Dive into a future of gaming and advertising where every mission is a step toward being more connected, player powered universes. Get ready to embark on your journey with Starbase and StarNet, the ad network that's rewriting the rules and the official infrastructure of Gamified. Also, we have the StarNet account up here on the panel. If you guys want to follow that, I'm sure some alpha is soon to come. But we're jumping in to Raid Boss. It's back. It's been a while, and we're finally here. What's more likely to succeed? Okay, option one or option two? Option one is a team with mid level gaming experience, but is native to Web3. They've been around and they love this space. Option two is a highly experienced Web 2 game developer team, but not experienced in Web 3. However, they are open and curious. They're not going in against their will. They like what they see. They just don't know what they're doing yet. We ran a poll on the Wolves DAO Twitter, which got 670 votes, and it was pretty split. I'm not going to reveal the percentages until after our debate. And I'm going to send it over to Lems first to give us a breakdown on who's on what team. We did away with the drafting on Raid Boss just because I didn't like that people sometimes got stuck on teams that they didn't really want to be on. So we tried our best to take into account what side people actually wanted to debate for. Lems, over to you, brother.
All right, so we're sticking to the team captains of Jerry and Sinjin. So on Team Jerry, which is Team 1, which is the mid-level gaming experience but native to Web3, it's me, Jay, Nock, and Andy. And then on Team Sinjin, which is Team 2 for a highly experienced Web2 game dev team but not experienced in Web3. So we got Sinjin, Koji, Michael O'Connor, Parker, and Dub. And I also want to give a shout out to TCAF, who is the Fable Born community manager. He inspired the topic from a discussion in Wolves. And there's actually a lot of back and forth. It was interesting. It was very split over there. So it was interesting to see how we get into this.
Yeah, seems like across the board, the conversation is always split. Quick reminder as well for the team members on each team. What I try to do is go through every single person on each team one at a time and go back and forth between the two teams. So what I ask is if you guys are ready to chime in on your perspective opinion, then please raise your hand so I know I can send it to you without taking you off guard. Because sometimes people are ready, sometimes they're not, sometimes they want to wait to jump in and rebuttal instead of like kicking it off, etc. So if you could just raise your hand whenever you're ready to go. One more time, just to make sure it's abundantly clear. Option 1, a team with mid-level gaming experience but is native to Web3 and loves the space. Option 2, a highly experienced Web2 game developer team but not experienced in Web3. However, they're curious and open to it. Out of my team captains, I think Jerry picked the side first. So I'm going to let team captain Sinjin, I'm going to make Jerry kick it off first. I think
Just
that's
before you
the harder position.
And just before you start there, Jerry, I'm also going to let people know we're going to run a poll on the space right now, and it will be pinned to the top. Please don't vote right away. You might as well wait until you hear people's answers and then vote, because you can't change your vote on Twitter polls. But yeah, I'll set that up right now, and you can vote at the end.
Sounds good. Thanks, Lems. Jerry, over to you to kick it off for team number 1.
Yeah, I wanted to argue this side because I think we've seen the successes in Web3 so far, the big hit games that we've had that have had crossover appeal, have been exactly those teams, right? They've been teams that don't have a ton of gaming experience, but they're very in the weeds of blockchain gaming and how those things coexist with one another. Axie has done phenomenally. Koji's not on my team, right? He's on the other team.
Yeah, that's right. Can you hear me, Jerry?
Oh, dude, my Bluetooth headphones died, I think. Do I have Koji or no?
No, you don't have Koji.
Okay, gotcha. Well,
What the
but
fuck is
I
Koji?
am going to say that when Parallel first started,
Off to a good
they were
start for
marketed as
team
a team
1.
that had very little gaming experience.
We
But then
can't hear you, Jerry. We can't hear you, Jerry. We can't hear you.
Yeah, Jerry, you sound fucking crazy right now. I'm gonna send it over to Sinjin to kick us off instead. Try to figure your stuff out. We'll give you a minute. Sinjin, over to you for team number 2.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna try to make it fair for Jerry by saying it was gonna be me versus everybody, just so it could kind of be fair, because Jerry always picks the harder topics to see if he can actually, I don't know, justify. Well, I think he uses it in a way to cope because he knows he's gonna lose. So if he picks the harder topic, then it's okay. Look, the reality is every fucking thing you fucking degen morons keep thinking is a win is all short term. Ask any of these projects that you will say they've done a great win and stuff like that. They've done a great win for fundraising, for getting attention. But name me one fucking game that's run by like mid-level guys, and that have a crack team for Web3 guys, that have actually solved something and that's going to create a 10x product, and they're on that way forward for that. You can't. You really fucking can't. And I made this list. I actually prepared for this and made a list of like 8 games versus 8 games of games that had founders who were really experienced and who got into the space, who have stayed in the space, didn't pussy out, and got that Web3 kind of knowledge. And I made the other side of it where like no game experience or little game experience. It's clear that they outsource their, game dev to a studio and stuff like that, but lots of Web3 experience. And you can say, like, on that particular side, yeah, these companies in general have raised a lot more. They have a lot more, vanity metrics, and they have a lot more attention, right? But in terms of getting to a game where it is going to be like a paradigm shift. It's going to be orthogonal. It's going to have asymmetric returns. It's going to be sustainable, right? None of those games and none of those Web3 teams that are led by, mid-level developers and who are really Web3 native, I don't think any of them are going to fucking make it, no matter how many shots on net that they have. I'll give you one example is Wildcard, right? Very fucking experienced, obviously. Team that's been around forever. And they're learning about Web3. And are they the most efficient with Web3? No, but are they careful? Are they, being careful because they're going for asymmetric, returns here? Yeah, absolutely. Maple Story Universe, Shrapnel, Pirate Nation, Fableborn, Infinity Gods, Hytopia. And you can look at Azra, who's kind of like stepped away from things, but, My Pet Hooligan, WeMix, Mirror 4, right? And if I go on the other side, I don't really want to do it because it looks like I'm fucking bashing them. But like, I'll just say one. You know, Illuvium. Like, how much hype did Illuvium have? And I want to say something too. The difference between mid-tier like game developers who have never shipped a fucking full game in their entire lives and worked on like fucking character fucking highlights and shadows is a big fucking difference from an experienced fucking team. And if they're in the space, they're willing to be in this space and they're willing to take the beats and they can get their fundraising, no fucking way there's any fucking competition here.
Strong words out of Sinjin on team number 2. Jerry, I'm trying to send it back to you. Let's see if that mic is working now.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's perfect, man.
Okay. Yeah, so like I was saying, the teams that have had the big successes so far have been exactly that. They've been teams that don't have these robust, game design backgrounds, but they've understood how to capitalize using Web3 in that moment, right? Axie, Ronin, the entire Ronin ecosystem. I think it's ridiculous to say that there's been nothing good that's come from the games that have shipped so far, when Ronin is a legitimately good Web3 publisher. Everything that they're shipping right now is doing well. Their tokens doing
That's not a
well.
fucking
Their
game, man. That's a
NFTs are
fucking
doing well.
blockchain.
But everything that they're touching that started with Axie is doing better than everything else in the ecosystem right now. I would say Parallel, when Parallel first, fundraised, they were probably looked at as a mid-level, mid-experience studio, and that's not me saying that, Koji. I'm imagining that you guys heard that when you first first kind of hit the market. So, but they are now one of the best examples that we have of a team because they don't come from gaming. The best thing about them is that they're approaching things differently and they're willing to take shots in different ways, and they're willing to iterate on everything that they do. And they've always led with their Web3, ethos with that. So I think the best examples that we have and the best examples that we're going to continue to have are coming from people who lead with Web3 and I don't think you need a ton of gaming experience to be able to ship a good Web3 game.
On that note, let's send it over to Koji on Team Sinjin, which once again, just a refresher, is a highly experienced Web 2 game developer team that doesn't have Web 3 experience. Koji, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the phrase I used last time, but as a a bunch of friends who just got lucky, and then made this game, like I think that I'm not gonna go as far as Sinjin went and say that like none of these teams are gonna be able to do anything. I think that like that's how you innovate, is some of these like more native teams doing interesting things. But if I had to put money behind it and make a guess, I would say that it's the more experienced, um, y- you know, uh, traditional game teams that are going to do it. And here's the thing, right? Like, there's a reason why we don't see a lot of those successes is because those games aren't out yet. Like even Wildcard, like people have played demos or whatever, but it's like not out yet. And the reason it's not out yet is because those teams know that making games takes a really fucking long time, and you can't rush it just because people who own an NFT say, "Hey, I want to play this now," right? And so we haven't really seen the fruits of that labor yet, right? Even Shrapnel, like you're looking and you can play the SCXs and stuff, but that's not the game. And anyone who's like playing it, being like, "This is what Shrapnel is going to be like," is like out of their fucking minds, right? Like you can look at it and it's a very polished gray box, or like somewhere in between a gray box and an alpha or whatever, but like that's all it is, right? And there's so much more coming to so many more of these things that like I think that when these teams are ready, it's going to blow people's minds. And then a lot of these mid-level teams, or like we'll say mid-level game experience teams with deep Web3 experience, they're going to get blown out of the water. Hopefully not all of us. Like, I pray that Parallel will stick around. I think we're good enough to do that. But like honestly, I think that when we actually see the fruits of this labor come to fruition or whatever, it's going to be very stark contrast. And I mean, the biggest argument that you can make right now is like it's just no one's done it yet. Like none of these high level teams have released anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great point. Most of the people with a lot of Web 2 experience therefore had the Web 2 connections to fundraising and also the reputation to be able to fundraise a lot and have a lot less pressure on them. It's an interesting point there. Mr. Gino J, let's send it over to Jay on team mid-level gaming experience but native to the Web 3 space. Over to you.
I think I had a few points I put together as I was rolling through. Like, there's not one. I'm biased. I got no game experience. I only have Web3 experience. I've launched multiple tokens at billion plus FTV at this point. But quite frankly, maintaining and keeping that is not something I've been successful at, and that's probably where the long term really good gaming experience may come in. So I'm not saying I have the secret silver bullet either, but I do think that to get off the ground, to build the treasury, to know that you need to prioritize liquidity and what the current meta is for Web3 and all the sort of things only come from Web3 experience. And it's not something that you're going to get just from, having a Web3 advisor on your team, nor something you're going to get from using one of the off-the-shelf Web3 platforms that handles Web3 for you. So I think there is unproven, never chartered territory that only a small group of individuals in the world have experience with, and there are millions of motherfuckers that know how to build really good games. I think the strategy will have to end up being Web3 native team that gets a token community off the ground in degen ways, builds enough treasury to scale the right team to help them scale a gaming ecosystem, and then lives on to be the survivor. I think in a lot of ways that's where Ronin's at right now. Ronin did start as a less crypto related team, a less gaming familiar team that absolutely nailed it in the crypto side, and then built enough treasury to build a badass team that's doing a lot of the right things to grow into the ecosystem publisher, et cetera, that we're seeing. That is the I think the path this has to take, in which case, I guess if you have to choose an answer in a moment in time, it's definitely going to be, for me, pick the Web3 native team to start. I also just want to put it out there that like in Web3, you only get one shot. Not only that's dramatic, but like you get one shot at launching the token. And quite frankly, it's a very hard uphill battle to get around that. And that's something that you can't walk back from no matter how good your game and game teaming is, or game team is. Yes, you may have the runway to wait forever to run that properly, but even if you have the runway to wait around forever, crypto meta is going to keep changing. And if your team's not crypto native, you're never going to keep up with the meta and figure out what it is you need to be doing at the time of launch. I mean, TCG Parallel, you guys crushed it with the timing to get your latest stuff out this year, and that's something that came from being a Web3 team. Like that wasn't an accident. So I, as much as you're on the other team, Koji, like I kind of think there's a lot of examples here that we've seen in the space now of the names that, yes, maybe Sinjin, we're not making the next 10 cent, but we are definitely chartering Web3 in the way that it needs to go to become a legitimate space.
Great takes, Jay. Let's send it over to Michael O'Connor on team number 2, highly experienced Web 2 game dev, not experienced in Web 3. What's your take?
I think that anyone has the ability to make a great breakout hit, and in a nascent market like the market that we're all working in here, there's ample opportunity to do amazing things regardless of experience. And that's wonderful. That's very exciting. And that's why it's such an exciting space to work in and comment on. With that said, we must consider the difficulty curve here in the two things that we're talking about. A highly experienced gaming team that's inexperienced at Web3. I mean, the difficulty curve of becoming a highly experienced gaming team is huge. We're talking about the creation of one of the most difficult types of media, one of the most challenging types of software development out there, with incredibly diverse, complicated project and stakeholders. So that's something that we got to keep in mind. It takes a long time and largely blood, sweat, and tears that pretty much never go away. I don't know anyone who's ever made a game and said it was easy, you know? So that's really hard. And on the flip side, when we think about what it means to become very Web3 savvy, that requires a lot of dedication, but it's nowhere near as complex as the idea of going and becoming a highly experienced games team. So the lift required in order to be able to pull that off is like, I mean, there's a massive, massive gap. And for that reason, I think you have to focus on being the highly experienced gaming team who's Web3 curious. That curiosity is crucial, by the way. If that curiosity is not there, game over. There must be an openness to learning and adapting and moving in and jumping in head first. And I think that's what we see from the successful teams. And we talk about Wildcard, we talk about Parallel. There's a lot of, we talk about Shrapnel. Lots of people who've made some great games before. Of course, they're better bets. It's a really, really complicated thing. And when we reference things like Axie Infinity, and the wonderful work that's happened over at Sky Mavis in the building of Ronin. I mean, we have to also remember that was really, really related to first mover advantage. They were the first in the door. So, the barometer of quality didn't need to be there as much. There was a huge cultural movement that they were really propagating, and props to them for being able to manage that and to ride that wave and to come out the other side, resilience, and keep going again. And that's wonderful. But the market's changed. The industry's changed. We're in a different place. And if you want to bet on things that, you really care about the long-term success of the projects that you want to bet on, go with the ones who are the most skilled in the most difficult things that are most relevant to the kind of things that they're building.
Great stuff from Michael O'Connor. We're seeing some comments come in. Jay is responding in the comments. I'm going to let that one live. Maria says, absolutely loved Jay's genuine transparency in setting the scene for the answer. Up next, let's send it over to Mr. Andy Adams behind the StarNet account. Andy, you're on team one, a team with mid-level experience, but native to the Web3 gaming space. Tell me why they would outperform the alternative. Oh, I can't hear Andy. Can anybody hear Andy?
Can't hear him here either.
All right, on that.
I can't hear him. Andy, don't be scared, man. Just say it, man.
Just say what you got to say. Come on, you're letting the team down.
Let's send it over to Lem since he's on that team and he's already talking.
All right. So something that I noticed a couple of the other speakers on the other teams were treating it like the team that I'm on it's like no game experience, which we have seen in Web3. We've seen success stories already from teams that have basically no game experience. But that's not the question. The question is we're talking about like mid-level gaming experience. So they're not totally new to building games. It's not like they have no idea and they're just starting out blind. They've built games before. They know what they're doing. They just don't necessarily have a couple of decades of experience and have the same experience that the highly experienced teams have. So I think they have a better advantage because they do understand how to build games and how games work, but then they're Web3 natives and they understand incentives and liquidity. As Jay mentioned, like these are key things in this space. Like, if we go outside gaming and in the Web2 world, how many Web2 brands have tried to come into Web3 and totally fumble the bag? They're like big brands that everyone knows, and they have no idea what goes on here. They don't understand incentives. They don't understand the communities here. They don't understand how people think. And if you don't understand the market participants and how incentives work, then you're a lost cause. You don't have a chance. How many pitfalls are they going to go through? You might have tons of experience making good games, but hey, if you don't understand how to pull on those levers and pull on those incentives, then you're just going to be dead in the water because no one's actually going to pay attention to your game. You need to actually have things that get people excited. It was actually a tweet Spark C posted recently, which I thought was really interesting. And he was saying how building a community and mindshare is rarer in crypto gaming now than it has been before, because there's more traditional gaming vets coming into the space. There's more competition from experienced people who know how to build games. But guess what? There's not that many Web3 natives who understand marketing, they understand the incentives, they understand how things work here. And that's why I think, at least in the short to mid-term, that team is going to have a significant advantage until some of these things become a lot more standardized. And then, these highly experienced teams can copy that approach.
Great points across the board, Lems. Let's go over to team number 2 again. I'm going to tag in Parker, and then we'll come back to Andy.
What's up, guys? I think Limbs has actually a really good point in the fact of brands and just larger IPs entering the space in previous years have just ultimately been, for the most part, complete busts. And I think there's a lot of reasoning for that. One is just the adoption curve and risk curve associated with blockchain technology. I think the early adopters are always going to be people who are in the weeds and are a part of these communities and understand how to navigate this space successfully, like the Parallels of the world, right? I think these teams there's chances that they see great success, and I'm super bullish on these teams. And I think that the time for that success and those big misses from these large IPs is kind of beyond us. I think that we are finally entering into a phase in the Web3 gaming cycle, if you will, where a lot of these pieces of the puzzles have almost been commoditized to a point where there's almost like very strong solutions for every step of the deployment process for finding success in Web3. We've got wallet infrastructures, we've got blockchain solutions, we've got tokenomics advisors, we've got Wolves Den for just the full mind share and support. And so I think it's finally time where we're on the risk curve for these larger enterprises and institutions to enter into the space. And this isn't even Web3 gaming specific, right? This is just the industry at large, where they can see case studies and find the pathway for success in a much easier fashion, to where I personally am going to be taking much larger bets on these IPs and larger studios, because there's so much less work that they have to focus on when it comes to the Web3 portion, because they can outsource this and they can talk to experts. And there's people who have been able to, acclaim that they are experts in the field. And so I'm super excited for like the Maple Stories of the world, for the wild cards, shrapnels, et cetera, to finally ship and show the world like this is why gaming veterans will find success in this space. I think ultimately this argument is between the short-term thinkers and the long-term thinkers. And in the short term, I definitely agree that the Web3 focused audience and creators are going to find success. And that's great, but you will have to eventually scale and grow that success. Whereas the long-term thinkers are going to be placing their bets on these dedicated, Web2 traditional game devs who can find success. That's my spiel.
Great stuff, Parker. We've got about 5 to 10 minutes left in this raid, boss. I want to make sure I get through everybody, so maybe we can shorten the responses just a little bit. I'm going to send it over to Andy Adams, then we'll tag in Dub.
Yeah, Will's here. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Just had to wrestle the phone away from Andy so I could get in on this raid. And I'll keep it short because he's going to be back any minute. But I think that there have been some phenomenal points delivered on the side of the experienced game dev team. But as some of the people on my team have pointed out, innovation always comes from the outside. And I think that what a lot of us might be forgetting is that all of the panelists up here are Web3 native. If you're in this space to a point where you want to, where you've been building for 3 years, you've become Web3 native. And, while it is good to have, an experienced gaming team, and that's an essential piece of the puzzle, experience can be a burden in a lot of cases. Like we've seen so many examples of experienced Web2 teams going in to build a Web3 game and no longer being Web3 anymore. That's the most common result of the second option that I see. If I wanted to build a Web3 game for the long term and keep it focused and keep driven on that vision, I would create a team that was Web3 native. Maybe that would be, composed of highly experienced game developers like we see on this panel. But I think Web3 nativity is essential to bear through the storm that this market can be.
Great stuff, Wills, and congratulations on successfully okie doking me. It's not a full episode of Gamified unless somebody surprises me with who the fuck is behind the account. We're moving on over to Knock.
Yeah, I think if you think like game development and building any product in Web3 on like a perfect 100 step scale, if you take the experienced team, they are most certainly better on steps 2 through 100. I think the important piece to understand is that in Web3, if you don't get step 1 correct, it does not matter how talented you are on steps 2 through 100, you're dead in the water. There is a graveyard of very experienced teams that have entered this space. Holier than thou, we have the experience, we don't need to listen. I'm curious enough to be here, not curious enough to actually be an active participant and learn the path here and become a Web3 native folk. And those teams come in, they ship products that miss the mark because they don't understand the ecosystem and they slowly die. This Web3 ecosystem, by and large, is led by teams like Photon, like Magic Eden, like Tensor, like Pump Fun. As a recent example, teams who came into the space with expertise, a mid-level of expertise in their respective fields, but weren't burdened by experience. They weren't burdened by the rules of how things ought to be. And they iterated and they shipped products that couldn't have worked and shouldn't have worked and didn't make sense from a traditional experience point of view. And then they continued to leverage the ecosystem, leverage their knowledge in the space, hire folks from the Web3 ecosystem, build products for their consumers who are ultimately the people who are building that product anyway. And they've continued to build on this advantage and continue to build themselves into the leaders in the Web3 ecosystem. This space is run by teams who have been told at one point or another the thing that they're doing is not going to work because they don't have the experience that they need to make it work. And at every turn, they've said, fuck that, we're going to continue to build products that are native to this space because we deeply understand this ecosystem. Listen, if I wanted a Web 2 game, I would play Web 2 games. I don't care if you're the most qualified team in game development. If you can't get step 1 right, you're irrelevant. It does not matter. You do not make a difference in the Web3 space. We talk about things like asymmetrical upside. We talk about space like coming here to shift the way that things have been done and change how things are done and give back to the community. None of that matters if you miss that first step. And the only way you execute on that first step is by being a native person to the Web3 ecosystem. So for me, you look at the teams who lead the space, parallel, it's you've got Koji on one side of the table here, who is literally the prime example of a team who had a mid to low level of experience in his own words, came in here, did things that by everybody's account would not have worked, shouldn't have worked, doesn't make sense. And they've said, fuck you at every step of the way. And they've continued to develop not only into a quality game studio that is building incredible games, but a team that is truly Web3 native in the fact that they continue to ship products that are making the space better, like Wayfinder. You've seen this in Ronin, you've seen this in a bunch of other teams in the space. Geno Pets is doing something similar. If you're building in Web3 and your foundational building block is not Web3 native behavior, then leave. Go back to the Web2 space because you're not going to build a native Web3 product if you are not a native Web3 team. And I agree with what Will said. I think by and large, everybody on this panel, especially a lot of the builders, are de facto native Web3 folk anyway. They've been here for long enough. They understand the space. They're the ones paving the way for this to be successful. But if you don't get step 1 right, steps 2 through 100 do not matter. And we know that this is true because we've seen it 1,000 times before.
Dub gets the last word for team 2, Sinjin's team, a highly experienced Web 2 game developer, not very experienced in Web 3.
Yeah, if you haven't already voted for Team 2, your finger's definitely pressing that button once I'm done with you here, because Knox Point is literally just trying to get all of us to live in the past of what Web3 gaming is. What we're working towards in the future is the ability for games like Fortnite to easily come into Web3 and see templates that work, see designs that work with Web3 mechanics. We're at that inflection point in the market, in my opinion. And now we're at that stage where good games are that step 1. It's not, figuring out what your token is or what your NFT prices are going to be. It's step 1, starting with a great game. And it's going to take an amazing game design team to do that. And there's going to be much more simpler ways of integrating Web3 into these games. And that's what's going to really ring true. You don't have to innovate on every single monetization aspect of this game. Some people are simply looking for CSGO on chain, and it's easy to do. And we're seeing the template for that now.
Sinjin and Knock have the hands up. Sinjin, I'm going to go to you first, then I'll let Knock get a last word. And also the poll, Lem's put a timer on it. I think there's like 5 minutes left. So check the pinned tweet, get your votes in, and we will announce who won along with the MVP of the episode. Sinjin, over to you.
Yeah, there's always going to be exceptions, and I love Gino Pets, and Jay has taken the time to advise me on a lot of questions from his experience because he's really been through this in the past cycle. So, that experience, as well as even though he came in with no game experience, I mean, he's gotten a lot of game experience at this point. Parallel, everyone knows I love Koji. He's like my brother from another mother. Well, maybe it is the same mother. We don't really know, and all the flowers to them. But these are like generally exceptions. I mean, Lem said on one side, it's like, well, these are mid-level guys, game developers. That's not what the question is. But on the flip side as well, the thing is like Web3 curious. It's not like we're zero knowledge about Web3 as well. And I'll speed it up here, but Michael's point is exactly that, because when Koji's talking about like the innovation from the 0 to 1 and stuff like that, I'm all for natives. That's why I'm all with you young punks trying to learn and really kind of understand and have to deal with all you simps and incels to learn like where you see the opportunities are. But a back end or like a smart contract or like a marketplace, it's not the same thing as a game. And the one thing I'll really say is that in some instances, the liabilities you create in the short term prevent you from making it to the long term. There are some things that you need to start long term right from the beginning. And the biggest thing is you talk about like shots on goal and raising and continually raising and so on and so forth. But what liability are you creating where you have so many tokens that are released there? You have so many investors who are looking for, they've been bought onto the speculative Web3 narrative. And then because of that liability, your game economy doesn't work and your game dies 8 months after it comes up. It's no secret now that all the exchanges are looking not for vanity metrics, but real engagement because they're going to look for revenue.
Well said, Sinjin. Knock, the last word before we move on.
I think one of the really important things when you're building in Web3 is to understand why you're spending so much time building in a space that is significantly more difficult. And I think for a lot of people, it's the idea that there are no rules. There is no preconception of what needs to be done and how things need to be built or the correct steps that you need to take. And I think that that's part of the exciting thing. And I think even for the experienced teams who come into the space and have curiosity, ultimately the fundamental reason why they're here is because of that. They have the opportunity to experiment. They have the opportunity to fundamentally change something. And the best way to start that change is through native people who are participating within the ecosystem. And again, I don't consider even the most qualified teams in this space to be truly, non-native Web3 folks. You look at a team like Shrapnel, sure, they have a ton of experience when it comes to building games. They are also probably the most over-indexed team in Web3 for native Web3 hires and ecosystem and judgment and shaping what the product is that they're actually building. And if that was a team who came in and said, hey, we're just curious, we'll talk to a couple of advisors, Shrapnel would not be the success that they are today. Part of the reason why they are successful as they are is because they have done the one thing that all of the great teams, the truly great teams in Web3 do, which is hire their consumers. They hire people from their audience who use their product to help come in and inform decision-making process because they realize that those people have a finger on the pulse that the experienced folk who know how to build games, who know how to build marketplaces, whatever it might be, don't necessarily have. So even the best teams in this space over-index on their hiring. They over-index on the time that they spend with advisors to get a better understanding of how this ecosystem works because they know if you do not have a native Web3 team within your ecosystem or a native Web3 group of advisors who basically work for you anyway, just with the exception of a title, you are not going to be successful in the space. I think that's the beautiful thing about Web3 is yes, you need to have some core competencies. Absolutely, you need to have some structure. You need to know how things work in general. but we can be creative. We can test things. We can iterate. And that's true because we've seen it with all of the companies who are leaders in this ecosystem. They are Web3 native folks who hired Web3 native folks who continue to build products for Web3 people, because ultimately that's the foundation of what you need to be a generational company that exists 10, 15, 20 years from now. If you're building in a new ecosystem, build for that new ecosystem. You don't need to build for an ecosystem that doesn't want you because you're building in Web3, or doesn't know you exist because you've left the ecosystem that they're familiar with. Just build Web3 products with Web3 folks. And as the ecosystem continues to expand, as the pie continues to grow, that's when expertise comes in. Of course, a native Web3 team is not going to be able to steer the ship on a multi-billion-dollar company, but they will be able to get it to 100 mil or 200 mil, bring in users, bring in revenue, and then the experience really kicks in. But I truly believe that if you need to be successful in the Web3 space, you need to be an active participant. You need to be a Web3 native person. Otherwise, you're going to be like the pile of teams that have come in here, tried to make a quick buck, thought they knew better than everybody else in the space because they have the traditional experience, and then died within 3 months.
Damn, absolute banger out of knock for Team One mid-level gaming experience, but native to Web3. We have the results from the Wolvesdow poll that I wanted to read off here. Team One that I just mentioned actually ended up losing 42.8% to Team B. Web2 gamers with more experience had 57% of the vote. So really interesting to see, again, almost 700 votes on that poll. So pretty crazy how split it was, but really, really amazing points there at the end, Knock. I want to give a quick shout out to Games GG for setting up a quest. Civil War was the code based on this second half of the show that we had here. Big shout out to Games GG. I think it's the best place to learn about Web3 gaming if you're trying to find out about new games, keep up with news, etc. So I always love partnering with them for little things like this. I'm going to move on, though, to the MVP of the episode. I'm going to go around the horn and find out who gets everybody's vote. Lems, kick us off, man. Who's your MVP for the day?
Oh man, this is a tough one. There's a lot of good takes today. I think Knock takes the cake just based on the raid boss. He just was ripping through so many good points on this one. So yeah, shout out Knock for that one.
Knock, who's your MVP, brother?
I'm going to give it to Wills for his one changing and coming in last minute, but also just delivering an absolutely incredible take on raid boss as well.
Dang, Will's making an impact. Wills, who you got?
My name's Andy, and I'm going to vote for Wills.
Jesus Christ, I hate both of you. Dub, over to you.
I'm giving it to Jerry's Bluetooth headphones for ultimately winning it for us right out the gate.
Jerry, who's got your vote?
I'm gonna give it to Dub's high school photo. Knock absolutely fucking cooked this episode. Very clear winner. Honorable mention to Jay.
Love that. Jay, who you picking?
I'm gonna give it back to Knock, dude. Knock. You're a listener in this space, by the way, for some reason. Thank you, Telegram, Twitter. But you crushed it.
Let's get Koji's take. Koji, who's your MVP of the day?
I'm going Sinjin for always sticking to his guns very adamantly. And I agree, you're all gutless wanks.
Sinjin, who's your MVP for the day?
It's definitely not Knock, you fucking nut hugger fuckers on this panel. Fucking, I let him go because we're running out of time because I consider it to Sam and the sponsors, right? What the fuck? Michael, you dumb fucks. Like, how can you not give it to someone who was so concise, eloquent, and got right to the point and translated all the shit that I was saying? He's the fucking MVP. My vote should be worth fucking 10.
I also would vote for Michael if I was allowed to have a vote. Michael, who's your MVP of the episode?
And seeing as, you know, St. John's vote is worth 10, that's great. And I'll vote for St. John back. Captain St. John on the raid was smashing it out with making all the right points with clarity and charisma as per usual.
Amazing. And I think Parker is the last person I haven't asked. Parker, who's your vote for MVP?
Not Knock. I agreed with Sinjin on that one. I'm going with Koji. I think just from the raid battle, Koji just every week comes in here one of the most successful Web3 games in the space. Also, one of the most humble founders in the space, and I think that's comes with a lot of merit. So I appreciate that.
Shout out to Koji for being a great example of a team that came in with mid-level experience but crushed. Thank you for making my point for me, Koji.
He truly did. Yeah, Koji, I don't know how he manages to be so humble with all that success because my head would be bigger than the fucking Hindenburg. But we move we move on. Knock, you win the MVP of the episode. Get your 60 seconds. Show whatever you want, brother. Congratulations. Great episode today. Well done.
Yeah, I'll start by showing all of the developers on this space, like Sinjin, Koji, Michael O'Connor specifically. Ton of experience. I love what you guys are doing. I think we need more builders like you. But I want to specifically highlight two very good friends in Jay and Corey from Honeyland, two people who I think embody the ethos of building games in Web3 and challenging the status quo on what a game is and what it looks like in the Web3 space. They have always been ones to share their opinions, stand by their guns, make sure that they are testing the waters. They're always testing new things in the space. And it's true and it's evident in the fact that both of them will have a Telegram game, maybe, releasing in the next little while. So I think that's just another example of them continuing to innovate, continuing to be active participants in the space, and seeing where the puck is moving and building products for the next step in Web3. So shout out to all the builders, all the game devs in the space, regardless of your level of experience, but a special spotlight on Jay and Corey for sure.
Great stuff. Love both of those lads. Always great to have Jay on the space.
Oh, Knock, you're cheering me up, man. You're cheering me up. Love you, bro. Been a
Jay
minute.
Jay is somehow always on a treadmill, but also sounds sedated at the same time. And I don't know how those two things can coexist in harmony the way that they do. I'm gonna give a 30-second mini MVP honorary shout out to Michael O'Connor. Michael, what do you want to plug, man? I know today the game has a bunch of stuff coming up as well.
Oh man, I'm not in the mood for the plug right now, but yeah, just come over and fucking hang out with us on all the socials. We've got a playtest coming up very soon, and I know Donaldo is putting together a big kind of recruitment thing, so that's going to be a pretty awesome opportunity to integrate further into the community and get access to some cool rewards and different resources inside the game as well. So keep an eye out, and wreck Donaldo's head and DM him if you have to, because we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up, and we are very appreciative of everyone in the space, everyone on here. Sam, legend, thanks for creating this platform for all of us to talk about all these ideas and comment and talk shit and have a laugh.
Always,
Some
brother.
Negronis.
It's going to be a new requirement to come on this space that you have to be a founder that's willing to say, I don't actually like shilling things. That's just step number one to getting on Gamified, is just having that kind of attitude. I love you, man. Excited to get into that playtest as well. And as we close out another epic episode of Gamify, let's throw a snowball size shout out to the colossal force of nature called Avalanche. Avalanche is not just any blockchain, it's a cataclysmic cascade of cutting edge technology, the summit of speed and scalability. This is where gaming legends are forged, with titans like Konami solo leveling, Off the Grid, Maple Story, all sculpting their own chains on this unstoppable platform. And the avalanche of excitement continues with Robo Kaiden launching on Elixir. This isn't just a game release, it's a seismic shift in the gaming landscape. Also on console, which was a huge deal like 6 months ago whenever we found out Off the Grid was going to be on the console. Well, Robo Kaiden's already there, baby. Thanks to Avalanche for being the official blockchain of Gamified. Reload, regroup, and rally round as we salute Shrapnel, the strategic superstar spearheading the pulse of Web3 gaming. They are the architects of your arenas, the guardian of your gameplay, our sponsors, and the official game of Gamified. If you're looking to get involved, there's no time like the present. Shrapnel continues to add more opportunities to engage, earn, and be rewarded. So jump into the Discord and learn more about their quests, Lunatics, Mercury, Metal, and other ecosystem rewards, and apparently a Telegram clicker game designed by Dub. And before we bid adieu, let's illuminate the cosmos with StarNet, the stellar ad network that's reimagining the $100 billion spent annually on user acquisition. Forget the corporate constellations of Google and Facebook. StarNet lets games and apps shine brightly, creating a decentralized and fair ad tech galaxy. And now brace yourselves for Starbase, the shimmering starship in the StarNet universe. This is the ultimate missions platform for gamers where you can play, complete challenges, and collect gems. Starbase doesn't just spotlight the best playable games in Web3, it embodies StarNet's grand galactic vision, launch into a future where games and advertising intertwine, and every mission brings us closer to a more connected, player-powered cosmos. Join the revolution with Starbase and StarNet, the ad network that's truly out of this world. Best of luck to StarNet and Starbase and everything you guys are doing. Congratulations on the launch. Super excited to see how it goes. And thank you for having some quest submissions that are focused on Web3 games and not just telling me to go like a tweet, for fuck's sake. God, it's driving me crazy. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. That's going to do it for today's show. We'll see you back here, same time, same place next Wednesday. And of course, you can also join us on Simplified Mondays at the same time as well, 4 p.m. Eastern every single time. Big shout out to this entire panel: Jay, Knock, Michael O'Connor, Sinjin, Koji, Lems, Parker, Jerry, Dub, Andy, Wills, all the people. Man, you guys just make it so special every week. I love you guys. We'll see you soon.